Hello grade 3s and any grade 2s who decided to tag along. Let's continue talking about arrays. Now, arrays can actually be found all around us. As I started looking around my kitchen, I realized that it was full of arrays. And you might think, what are you talking about? Do you have circles and magnets all over? Well, yes, but also there are other things that make arrays and will give us a chance to practice our skip counting and our multiplication. Now, the first thing I've got here is some of our plants. So I will have to hold this kind of sideways so that you can see it more clearly. Now, it is a bit of a mess of green in here, but if you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3 plants in a row. And then we've got 3 rows of plants. And in each column, there's 3. And let's see how many columns we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, using what we learned yesterday, let's create a math question showing what we've just seen. So if you remember, there were 3 rows. The first number in our multiplication question is going to be the rows, which in this case is 3. Then we put the little x, which means to multiply, we say times. Now we do 3 times, and there were 6 columns. Now what we can do is we can find that answer. So let's look at this array here again. And this is a good chance for us to count by 3s. So as I go over each column, we will count by 3s because there are 3 plants in each column. Are you ready? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Did you get to the answer as well? I sure hope so. If you've been practicing counting by 3s, you should have gotten there and realized that 3 times 6 is 18. So there are 18 little plants in here. Now you can probably already see by looking at it that that's a bit of a cheat because there is more than one plant in these little pots of soil. Funny story, when I brought these home, nothing was growing, absolutely nothing. And I was watering them and nothing came up. And I thought, oh, maybe the seeds weren't good. Maybe I should put some more seeds in. So I put some more seeds into there. Well, wouldn't you know, those original seeds started sprouting the next day. And of course, the ones I put in there also started sprouting after a bit. And I'm not sure exactly how many you guys put in when you planted them, but I expect it was more than one in each pot. So we have just little plants sprouting out of each one. And honestly, these plants are getting so big that they need to go in a new container. I've been waiting till I can do this lesson because I wanted to show you how they're like an array. So hopefully I will get them replanted today and I will be able to show you how much they are growing. Now that is not the only example of arrays that I've got here. I was looking through my kitchen, and of course you realize that these plants were planted in egg cartons. So that of course led me to an egg carton. So I had to take the eggs out of here and put them back in the fridge in order to do this without worrying about breaking eggs. But actually, as I was taking the eggs out, for some reason, one of the eggs, maybe it was already cracked and my finger went right through it. So I broke an egg anyways, but what are you gonna do? No crying over broken eggs, right? So if you look at the bottom, we have an array right here. So if you look carefully, we have 2 rows and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns, okay? So I'm going to erase our original question here. And we are going to write the number of rows, which was 2, times the number of columns, which was 6. And now let's use our knowledge of skip counting to figure out how many there are. Now there's a couple ways to do this. We'll start with skip counting and then I'll show you the other way that I thought of just now. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. 2 times 6 equals 12. Now the other way that some of you might have noticed right away is that in each row there's 6, and there's 2 rows, and those of you who have memorized your doubles know that 6 plus 6 equals 12. So you get the same answer, but I wanted to show you how to do it as a multiplication question. So 2 times 6 is 12. I also happen to have a larger egg carton. Not sure why we have so many eggs right now. I guess I'm going to have to do some baking. Oh no. So I've got this egg carton here, and I didn't show you the top because the top actually tells how many eggs are in here. Now, you'll notice something when we figure out the question and the answer, but I'm not going to tell it to you quite yet, all right? So let's erase this question. Actually, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep that question. You'll see why in a moment. But if you'll look here, we've got 1, 2, 3 rows. So that's our first number. Times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. And then 3 times 6. Let's practice counting by threes. And if you're starting to have deja vu, there's a reason for that. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. And yes, some of you have noticed that that is the question that we just completed for our plants. The other reason I wanted to keep 2 times 6 and 3 times 6 is I wanted you to notice that 2 times 6 is 12, 3 times 6 is 18. Now for those of you who are quick little adders, 12 plus another 6 is as follows. There's my 6 fingers, let's count on to 12. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 6 is like we're putting on another row of 6, and it's become 18. And if you look, that's exactly what's happened here. As you can see, I'll switch them around. So we have 2 rows here of 6. Here we have 3 rows of 6. Now let's do something a little bit crazy. Let's put them all together. I know they don't look exactly the same, but I think you can see how we've got the same idea. All right, now let's take a look at this question, okay? And I'm just gonna write it at the top just so that I don't have to erase the other things we saw, okay? So in this case, now if these are all together, this would be 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows times, and we still have 6 columns. They've just become a lot taller. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we have 5 times 6. And I know you guys are good at counting by 5s, and that's exactly what we're going to do. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So 5 times 6 is 30. All right, one more little aside and then we're done talking egg cartons. Take a look here for a second. Now we've got 12, 18, and 30. I just want to show you something. I'm switching over to adding for just one moment, okay? So I'm going to get up here so I can reach this board. Okay, here I am. Hello. So let's say we had 2 times 6 was 12. So that meant 12 eggs in this carton. Hi. And then we had this carton, which was 3 times 6. That made 18. Now, if we add those 2 cartons together, 2 plus 8, let's count on. We've got 8 fingers here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, you know what to do. We've made a 10. We need to move it over to the tens column. 1, 2, 3, and if you take a look there, the answer to that question is the same as when we did it with multiplying. Interesting. All right, I'm done with eggs. And we're moving on to an ice cube tray. Here we go. I think you can already see how that is also an array. So, if we look at it this way, we have 2 rows here, correct? Let me erase this here using my fancy, expensive eraser. We have 2 rows times, let's see how many columns we have on this ice cube tray. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 2 times 7. Now earlier, I know I said I was done with egg cartons, I'm going back to it. With this egg carton, we had 2 times 6. Now I'm just going to put that up here using a red marker so you can see that it's a different question. And I just want you to remember that 2 times 6 equals 12. All right, that was the answer we had before. There were 12 eggs in that carton. Now let's figure out how many ice cubes would go in this tray. I took them out as well. I didn't want ice cubes all over my kitchen. So let's count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And now I want you to notice something. We've got 2 times 6 equals 12. 2 times 7 equals 14. Now if you look at, there's a pattern going on here for those of you who are looking for that. The 2's remain the same. We're multiplying by 2's. Now 6 got 1 bigger and became 7. The answer got 2 bigger, 12, 13, 14, 2 bigger. So take a guess now. What would happen if we wanted to find the answer to 2 times 8? Now remember our pattern. 6 got 1 bigger and became 7. 12 became 2 bigger, and became 14. So following that pattern, 12, 14, 16. For those of you who figured it out, that's correct. Now, if you're not sure that's true, allow me to show you. I would use the magnets, but I don't have enough of them. So I'm going to draw the dots and you'll be able to see. So the first number is our rows. So we're going to have 2 rows here. And it asks us to have 8 columns. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's fill in all those columns there. Good. All right, and now let's count by 2's again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Just like we figured out from that pattern. All right, we are nearly done here, but I did want to do one more thing. I did find another array in my kitchen. Sorry for the noise there, technical difficulty. I found my muffin tray. Now, you can see the array on this muffin tray, and I'd like us to figure out this question before we're done for this lesson. So if you take a look here, you'll notice that we have 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And you'll notice that we have 6 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So let's write that down. I'm going to erase this here because we're done talking about this question. So 4 rows times 6 columns. Now here we need to practice counting by 4s because I haven't taught you how to count by 6s. I'm willing to guess most of you wouldn't know how to do that. I would have to think twice because I don't do it very much. So let's count by 4s. Ready? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. 4 times 6 is 24. Now, let's back up a step here. Again, I'm bringing back the egg carton. Do you remember here? We had 3 rows and 6 columns. I'm just going to write that down here in red. And if you'll recall, this egg carton had 18 eggs. All right. Now, here's what's interesting. The 3 became bigger to a 4. We added another row of 6. If we take 18 and add 6, we're going to end up with 24. Now I better prove it to you so you know that I'm not just making things up. I'll do that right here because I'm running out of space. There we go. So as I said, we're going to add 18 plus another 6. So 8 plus 6. We're going to add on to that 8. 6 fingers, touch the 8 and count on. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now, of course, we can't do 14. We have made a 10. We need to move the 10 over to the tens place where it belongs. 1 plus 1 is 2, and as you can see, we ended up with 24. So there are a lot of different ways to understand this kind of math. There's different ways to look at it. And I hope I haven't taken you on too many different rabbit trails. To be honest, I love this stuff. I think it's so interesting that we can think about things in different ways. I hope you enjoyed looking for arrays with me and all the arrays I found in my kitchen. Why don't you see if you have some arrays at your house and try counting them, practice your skip counting, see if it's helpful to you. And if you are on Google Classroom, you can comment. If I call and talk to your family, you can tell me all about it then. Have a great day.